Something unexpected just happened to Jay Leno. The details have everyone talking. Picture this. It's a cold autumn night in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Somewhere inside that venue, thousands of people are already in their seats, laughing, talking, waiting. They have no idea what's happening just outside those walls. Because Jay Leno, the man who made America laugh for 50 straight years, is lying at the bottom of a 60-foot drop. In the dark. Alone. Before a show. He fell down the side of a hill. His face is bruised. His eye is swollen. His wrist is broken. And you know what he does? He gets up, walks back inside, and performs anyway. But that moment, as shocking as it sounds, was not even close to the most painful thing Jay Leno was carrying that night. Not even close. Because behind the sold-out crowds, behind the legendary car collection, behind that famous smile that millions of people trusted every single night for decades, something far heavier had been quietly breaking this man apart. A garage fire that left him burned beyond recognition. A court filing that revealed a devastating truth about the woman he loved. And a private grief so deep, so relentless, that no punchline in the world could touch it. This is not the story Hollywood tells about Jay Leno. This is the one they never wanted you to see. And once you hear it, you'll never look at him the same way again. To understand how far this man has fallen, and how hard he's fought to stay standing, you have to go back to the beginning. Because Jay Leno was never supposed to be a star. He grew up in a modest house in Andover, Massachusetts. His father sold insurance. His mother stayed home. There were no connections, no privileges, no shortcuts. And to make things harder, Jay struggled in school. He had dyslexia. Teachers told him, in no uncertain terms, that he wasn't built for success. But from the time he was a kid, Jay had something that couldn't be taught. He could make people laugh. Effortlessly. Instinctively. Like he was born with it. So he chased it. He worked clubs no one had heard of. He drove hours for 10-minute sets. He slept in his car. He performed every single night he could, year after year, building a reputation the hard way, one room at a time. By 1977, he landed his first appearance on The Tonight Show. He was a nobody with a big chin and an even bigger drive. But that appearance opened a door, and Jay Leno was not the kind of man to let a door close on him. For 15 years he climbed. And then in 1992, everything changed. Johnny Carson retired, and NBC needed a new host for the most powerful seat in late-night television. Two names were in the room, Jay Leno and David Letterman. The rivalry was legendary. The tension behind the scenes was real. Friendships were damaged. Careers were tested. And when NBC chose Jay, it sent shockwaves through all of Hollywood. What followed was 22 years of dominance. Over 4 million Americans watched him every single night. His salary peaked at $30 million a year. He was NBC's crown jewel, clean, consistent, and completely unbeatable. But here's what made Jay Leno different from every other celebrity in that position. He never spent $1 of that NBC money. Not $1. He banked every single paycheck and lived entirely off his stand-up income. While others burned through fortunes, Jay was quietly building an empire. One that included 181 cars, 160 motorcycles, and a McLaren F1 worth $20 million. On the surface, he had it all figured out. But what happened next changed everything. It started with fire. November 2022. Jay is in his garage, the legendary Burbank space he calls his sanctuary. The place where he disappears when the cameras aren't rolling. The place that feels most like him. A gasoline fire breaks out without warning. The flames hit him directly in the face. Burns cover his face, his neck, his hands. He's rushed to the Grossman Burn Center, one of the most serious burn treatment facilities in the country. And he spends more than a week there, fighting to recover. The photos that leaked out stopped people cold. This was the face America had watched for decades. The most recognized chin in entertainment. And now it was barely recognizable. The entertainment world held its breath. But Jay Leno did something no one expected. He didn't disappear. He didn't hide. He healed. And within weeks he was back on stage, cracking jokes about the whole thing, talking openly in interviews, driving his cars, living his life. Most people called it resilience. But what nobody realized was that while Jay was recovering from those burns, something far worse was already happening at home. Something that had been quietly building for years. Something that no amount of toughness could fix. His wife, Mavis, was slipping away. Mavis Leno was never a Hollywood figure. She chose privacy while Jay chose the spotlight. No children, no public life, just a 45-year marriage built entirely on trust, loyalty, and a love that never needed an audience. But dementia doesn't care about love. It doesn't care about loyalty or decades of devotion. It doesn't make exceptions for good people. And in 2024, Jay Leno stood in a courtroom and made it official. He was granted full conservatorship over his wife of 44 years, after her legal team described her condition as advanced dementia. Think about what that means for a moment. The man who always had the perfect comeback, the man whose entire career was built on knowing exactly what to say, was now completely powerless. Watching the woman he loved disappear, piece by piece, day by day. He started talking about it publicly. Not because he had to. But because he couldn't pretend everything was fine anymore. He described how his entire life had restructured itself around Mavis. The tours continued, yes, but everything, every decision, every schedule, every moment existed around her care now. He was her husband, her caregiver, and her protector all at once. And then, in January 2026, he shared something that stopped the internet completely cold. He told the world about one of the cruelest realities of living with someone in advanced dementia. Every single day, for 3 years, Mavis has had to be told that her mother has passed away. Not once. Not at the beginning, when the grief was fresh. Every single day. Because dementia erases memory like it erases everything else. And every morning when Mavis wakes up, the loss is brand new. The shock is real. The tears are real. And Jay Leno is there for it. Every time. Every morning. When that story reached the public, the reaction was unlike anything. Social media, which is almost never quiet, went silent. People who had spent years treating Jay like a punchline suddenly saw something they couldn't unsee. A man holding his whole world together with bare hands, and refusing to let go. But what someone asked him next was almost more revealing than anything else. During an interview, someone had the nerve to ask Jay Leno whether he was thinking about getting a girlfriend. He sat there for a moment, and then he said he was stunned by the question. He was married. His wife needed him. That was it. No anger. No drama. Just quiet, absolute loyalty. In an industry where people leave each other the moment things get difficult. Jay Leno was sitting beside a woman who sometimes couldn't remember the full story of their life together, and choosing to stay. Every single day. But the world outside wasn't done with him yet. Not even close. Autumn of 2025. Jay is back on the road, still touring, still grinding, still doing what he's done for 50 years. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's backstage before a show. Walking outside the venue in the dark, he loses his footing. He falls 60 feet down the side of a hill. 60 feet. He lands with a bruised face, a swollen eye, a broken wrist. And then he goes on stage. Days later he's photographed in Los Angeles. The bruise across his face is massive. The swollen eye is impossible to miss. He didn't call the show. He didn't cancel the tour. He just showed up, exactly the way he always has. But here's what most people missed in that moment. The road wasn't just work for Jay Leno anymore. The road was the only place the weight lifted. At home, every morning began with grief. He was watching the love of his life disappear in slow motion, memory by memory, day by day. But on stage? On stage, people were laughing. People were present. The connection was immediate and alive. Stand-up comedy wasn't what Jay Leno did. It was how he survived. And then, just as the world was processing all of that, something else resurfaced. A former contestant from The Biggest Loser came forward with a story about her appearance on The Tonight Show years earlier. She alleged that Jay had read her death threats on air, in front of a live studio audience, as if it were entertainment. Rosie O'Donnell publicly backed the story on social media. It landed at the worst possible time. The criticism was loud. The headlines were sharp. And for a man already carrying everything he was carrying. The question people started quietly asking was this: how much can one person take? Here is what the critics didn't see. While the conversations raged online, while people debated old clips and old decisions, Jay Leno kept moving forward. No public statements. No PR battles. No talk show appearances to defend himself. He just kept going. He launched a full comedy tour into 2026. He teamed up with Arsenio Hall for special shows, two legends, back on stage, together again. He drove a Tesla Semi for a segment. He took delivery of a brand new 2026 Corvette ZR1X. He backed a California bill to protect classic car collectors, fighting for the community he devoted his life to. And in interview after interview, he kept saying the same thing. He didn't describe what was happening at home as a burden. He called it love. Not duty. Not sacrifice. Not obligation. Love. And somewhere in that one word, that simple, stubborn, absolute word, was the whole story of Jay Leno. The kid from Andover that nobody expected anything from. The comedian who outworked every single person in every single room. The still touring. Still performing. Still turning wrenches in that Burbank garage, still filming content for the fans who have followed him for half a century. He's still her caregiver. Still waking up every morning knowing what that morning will bring. Still finding a way to carry it, and still finding his way back on stage every single night. In the middle of it all, the burns, the fall, the court filings, the controversies, the very public questions about a very private life. Jay Leno has done something that almost no one in Hollywood ever manages to do. He has stayed exactly who he is. No reinvention. No image overhaul. No redemption arc manufactured for cameras. Just a man. Living his life. Loving his wife. Making people laugh whenever he can. In an industry built entirely on performance and illusion, that kind of quiet, stubborn, unshakable authenticity is almost impossible to find. Jay Leno didn't become a legend because he was the funniest or the flashiest. He became a legend because he never stopped showing up. And at 76 years old, he still hasn't. So I want to ask you something. After hearing everything this man has been through, the fire, the fall, the heartbreak he carries home every single night, what do you think about Jay Leno now? Has your opinion changed? Do you see him differently? Drop it in the comments. Tell me what you actually think. I read every single one. And if you want more real stories like this, the truth behind the fame, the the life behind the legend, the side of Hollywood they never show you, hit that subscribe button right now. Because the next story coming to this channel is one you are absolutely not going to want to miss.